Canadians think there is not enough pride in the country's military. Poll. The state of the CAF is nothing to be proud of. There are some members that are still absolute dogs trying their best to hold it together. And they deserve credit. But the vast majority of the CAF is an embarrassment. Specifically the senior leadership. It's not pride we are missing, it's respect. The government has treated veterans terribly. Join the military and you'll see why lol. Other than being underfunded, people are also not happy with how leadership is running things. What's there to be proud of? Regardless of how good the individual soldier is, the Canadian Armed Forces as a whole is severely understaffed and under-equipped. Deleted. Pride for what? Duties on Canadian lumber have helped U.S. production grow while BC towns suffer. Now, Trump's tariffs loom. Major BC companies now operate more sawmills in the United States than in Canada. Something about Nortel. Even under FTA and NAFTA, the U.S. lumber lobby would get the U.S. government to slap illegal duties on Canadian lumber, especially softwood, claiming that Canada illegally subsidizes our lumber industry with low stumpage fees. The fact is that Canada is vast, huge and empty with a fucking lot of trees. And most of them are on Crown-owned, public lands. As opposed to the USA where forests are owned by huge forestry and lumber corporations. These corps also operate in Canada and dominate mill operations here. The illegal tariffs collected on Canadian lumber sent to the US are given to these private US lumber corps, further enriching them and giving them more power in bilateral lumber trade with Canada. All this only serves to raise the price of construction in the US. Especially residential, adding to the cost of new homes as well as repairs and renovations. Don't try bringing logic into this decision. It gets worse. 70% of our agriculture exports to the US are processed food. Grains and red meat, that is just the tip of the iceberg. This is dire and people aren't seeing it for what it is. We should have pivoted away from exporting natural resources like ages ago, and made a push towards value-add and IP-based exports, which are far more insulated from tariffs like this, on top of creating substantially higher levels of economic growth. At least in BC, the marketable timber has been cut down. The pine and spruce beetle took care of what's left. With an 80-year grow time in the north, it's not coming back quickly. U.S. lumber producers regularly sue the Canadian companies citing unfair government subsidies due to stumpage. Government regulation has not been the main cause of the industry closing down. Ahead of Remembrance Day, poll suggests most Canadians don't know much about their history. We need more Heritage Minute commercials. Promote the good and bad. Remember they had that one with the Chinese boys handling the nitroglycerin and said that they were basically used to help build the Canadian Railway? It is said that for every 1 mile of rail there is one dead Chinese. That was obviously something bad we did, but I loved how it ended with the old Chinese man telling the children the story because it shows they endured and that we all shouldn't forget their sacrifice. Wow, is this article brutally wrong? Here's the report and the quiz questions. https www.historica.ca/cms/public/pdf/2024/10/02/historica_fall_factum_n.pdf only. About one half the quiz is actual history. A whole lot of it isn't history at all. This is absolutely brutal reporting. The facts are barely 50% correct. Furthermore, knowing where the first internet cat meme came from hardly seems like relevant Canadian history. Interesting, sure. Important? As important as knowing the Canadian people referenced in Table 2 of the above report? Not in the least anyways. I'm a bit less concerned by this now. Usually I'd jump to criticize us. But the poll here doesn't exactly ask questions about Canadian history. I mean, I love John Candy as much as the next person. But knowing his birthday isn't exactly Canadian history. The only thing I can understand is not knowing any of those Canadian achievement folk. We took Canadian history for about 6 years back in school and never learned about a single one of them. Only ever heard about Viola Desmond when they went to put her on our money. This is more of an issue with the education system overall and the selective teaching of history, rather than the younger generation not caring. Warning: this video portrays a reenactment of the execution of Louis Riel. This Heritage Minute, made in 1991, imagines the final thoughts that may have run through Métis leader Louis Riel's head before he was executed for high treason in 1885. The minute was removed from the Historica Canada portfolio in 2020. Source: Wayback Machine, YouTube, Historica Canada. Why would they remove a Heritage Minute? Edit. Found this article about it. https www.cbc.ca/news/indigenous/louis-riel-1.7245083. Greater than as people gather to remember those who fought and died to protect this country in past wars. A new poll suggests many Canadians know little about their country's history. Greater than that's likely because high school students in most provinces and territories are not required to take a Canadian history class before graduating. Experts say, greater than many Canadians are in the dark about the people who helped build this country and the seminal moments that define its past and could inform its future. According to an Ipsos poll conducted on behalf of Historica Canada, the educational charity best known for producing the Heritage Minutes, greater than Historica's previous polls on Canadian history knowledge also offered troubling news for subject matter experts. Greater than last year's poll found Canadians know more about American military history than their own country's wartime experiences. Greater than nation-defining moments like Canada's role in the Battle of Vimy Ridge in the First World War or the Juno Beach landing on D-Day gets second billing to American military exploits. National pride seems to be at a low point, and we focus on regrets more than accomplishments. I'm sure the sorry state of education isn't helping. People don't even know what's happening around them in real time. First human case of H5 avian influenza in Canada detected in BC, officials say. Stop having relations with chickens. Bad. But at least there's still no evidence that it's transmittable from human to human. Once that happens, we're pretty fucked. COVID is the common cold compared to avian flu. Glad we potentially have something lined up for 2025. First case reported in BC by way of fuck. Time is a flat circle. Newfoundland and Labrador unemployment rate increases slightly to 10.1%, highest in Canada. This post appears to relate to a province territory of Canada. As a reminder of the rules of this subreddit, we do not permit negative commentary about all residents of any province, city, or other geography. This is an example of prejudice. And prejudice is not permitted here. https www.reddit.com/r/canada/wiki/rules set soumission semble concerner une province ou un territoire du Canada. Selon les règles de ce sous répertoire. Nous n'autorisons pas les commentaires négatifs sur tous les résidents d'une province, d'une ville ou d'une autre région géographique. Il s'agit d'un exemple de intolérance qui n'est pas autorisé ici. https www.reddit.com/r/canada/wiki/règles. And this action was performed automatically. Please Contact the moderators of this subreddit. Message compose to =r Canada if you have any questions or concerns. NL has always had the highest unemployment rate in Canada, usually by a significant margin. In fact, the current approximately 10% is still the lowest rate it has been in at least 50 years. https www.stats.gov.nl.ca/statistics/statistics.aspx. Topic equals labor second last line under annual data. Nonetheless, with all the additional people and a stagnant economy, I think Canada as a whole is heading for trouble on this front. Someone from Newfoundland and Labrador once said to me, "Why is there no work in Newfoundland?" His answer was, "We got all of it done." An old joke about Newfoundlanders is we do two things good, fish and fuck, and there are no fish left. Looks like we need more Indians for Tim Hortons.